The tourism dollars that will go into the pockets of all the service workers and all the people, I think it's a huge economic boom for the city.
Mayor Daley calls it a winning equation. The Olympics plus tourism equals big business for Chicago. But does that theory hold up? We found that winning the games doesn't always mean local businesses score at the cash register. In my special report tonight, why many retailers could find themselves chasing fool's gold. You'd think it would be obvious. With the Olympics, the world's biggest event, would guarantee billions of dollars and millions of tourists. Fox News Chicago found tourism did not drastically change in 2 of the last 3 Olympic host cities. In Fulton County, where Atlanta is, you can see tourism actually dropped the year of the games. It did pick up afterward, but not like the huge boom Pat Ryan promises. In the case of Australia, the number of international tourists did pick up for the 2000 Olympics, but again, as you see, the numbers go back to their pre-Olympic levels. The only exception, Athens. The capital of Greece attracted 2 million more tourists the year after the Olympics than it did before the Olympics.
There are very few cases that you can look at in the world where the Olympics has induced a significant change in economic activity.
The numbers are no surprise to Olympic expert Robert Boddy at Lake Forest College.
The Olympic Games themselves are more like the circus coming to town, and you put up the big top, you take it down, and you leave.
Only this time, instead of 3 rings, there are 5 rings. And like the circus, Boddy says attracting visitors before and after the games is like walking a tightrope.
What you don't account for is people who don't come to the city as a consequence of the games who would otherwise have come to the city. You have a lot of conventions who are price sensitive, who know that the prices for hotels and the prices for restaurants, parking, all of those tourist-related things will go up in price, and they'll stay away from the city.
As for the tourists who do come for the games, Boddy believes there's no guarantee they'll return.
Chicago is not an undiscovered city. Most of the people that are coming to the Olympic Games are people that know these cities, know the big attractive cities in the world. So this idea that there's going to be some kind of surprise and people are going to be coming back to the city for years to come, I think is exaggerated.
But some folks are already tallying up the costs and the benefits and trying to figure out who might get stuck holding the bag. Do city taxpayers have a reason to be worried once the glow wears off?
Probably so. Yeah.
Edward Stewart of Northeastern Illinois University shines the harsh light of economics on the city's efforts to grab the games. And while he admits that enthusiasm and $32 million in private donations are a great start, he's worried about the real cost, which could be in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 billion. The hard question is, how will the city pay for this?
Right, and who's going to pay for it? Whether it'll be taxpayers in the form of increased sales taxes, whether it'll be visitors in the form of extra convention, hotel taxes, restaurant taxes, somebody's going to pay for it.
Be careful what you wish for, the old saying goes. Tonight we used it to describe Chicago's quest for the 2016 Summer Olympics. Chief Correspondent Jay Levine reports on concerns about Chicago following in the financial footsteps of other host cities.
Can we lose? But the real question, some say, is do we really want to win? Could Chicago's Olympic dream turn into a nightmare?
Athens lost money, Sydney lost money, Vancouver's going to lose money, Beijing, it's hard to say. I mean, they lost money. London is certainly going to lose money.
Once the euphoria of winning the games was over, we then started to see what the reality of putting on a show really is.
Our total construction budget is less than London's stadium budget.
Doug Arnott was ready for tough questions about the plan Chicago will reveal tomorrow. We've learned that it estimates costs of $4.9 billion, about the same as London proposed.
Whether it gets bid at $2.5 billion or $5 billion, can we say that is not only the bottom line, that's the ceiling?
But given Chicago's record of cost overruns on major projects like Millennium Park, the fear of having to dip into the city's $500 million guarantee seems quite real.
London's had to use almost $1 billion out of their guarantee.
Yep.
How can Chicago people not be nervous?
Lying to British Columbians when they say that the Olympic Games will only cost taxpayers $600 million. The government consciously decided to exempt Van Ogg and Legacies Now from the Freedom of Information Act, from the Financial Disclosure Act, and all the accountability measures that you would expect to be in place for such taxpayer-funded institutions.
Vancouver, we've heard promises from Gordon Campbell, the Premier, saying that the Olympics aren't going to cost $1. And we've heard promises from John Furlong that there is no possibility, zero chance whatsoever that we're going to go over budget.
And so it's going to be on time, on budget. And there's going to be lots of BC, wouldn't it? And if it's not? It's going to be on time, on budget. And if it's not? It's going to be.
Taxpayers in BC's largest city are on the hook tonight, big time. Vancouver city planners dropped a bombshell late today, announcing the Olympic Athletes Village money pit is far deeper than anyone could have imagined.
Now, with the financial implications much clearer tonight, here's what Vancouver's mayor is saying.
The Olympic Village is a billion-dollar project, and the city taxpayers are on the hook for all of it. We know now why the previous city government didn't want to talk about the deal that they've made. The arrangements were not in the public's interest. The decisions taken by the previous city government have put the city at enormous financial risk, even as we were told in 2006 that our elected leaders at the time that the Olympic Village would be developed at, and I quote, no risk to the taxpayers.
Allowed to use.
Yeah, taxpayers are always told the Olympics are not going to go over budget by a penny. We have the famous quote by the mayor of Montreal, Mayor Drapeau, saying Olympics could not possibly go over budget as a man could have a baby. Something along those lines. The famous quote by Mayor Drapeau. And of course, Montrealers just finished paying for the Olympic Stadium just this year. And that was in 1976. So, 31 years later, Montrealers are just paying off the bill.
The Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee has released a report on Olympic spending. Its first since Olympic Minister Tassa Jowell admitted the price tag has risen to £9.3 billion, or $80.5 billion. 4 years ago, the government said the cost to the taxpayer would be only £4 billion.
Single set of games, especially since 9/11, have gone way over budget. They're overpromised, underdelivered. You look at the Athens Summers Games, they were selling tickets to events for $11. The hotel vacancy during the actual Summer Games was around 70%. It downgraded Greece on the EU financial standing. I mean, it's had long-term impacts for taxpayers in that province, and it certainly skirted all of their other priorities down to the bottoms for what, 18 days of games?
Direct games-related costs for all planning and operations, this is very important, will be covered entirely by private funding sources, such as sponsorship marketing, broadcast rights, and ticket sales.
That the Olympic Village would be developed at, and I quote, no risk to the taxpayers.
The big loser is you and me. And all of us who pay our taxes and expect that we're going to get services for the money we pay for all of, in taxes to all levels of government, we're the losers.